Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be taking a look at an article from Reuters that was published on November 1st. Now this is written by Guy Falconbridge and Paul Sandel. Falconbridge. That's almost like a made-up fucking name. I know it's a real name, but it just looks made up. Sorry, but I just had to say that. Father of Web says tech giants may have to be split up. Yeah. They've become duopolies and shit like that. When Apple and Google control like 6 or some odd percent of the app market, yeah. You have problems when that's going on. Things should be done to remedy that because there's no actual open competition. They've lobbied for legislation to protect them and make it so that the cost of entry is hard for companies, even on the tech sector, you know, like web-based companies. They've done all this stuff to try to make things harder for these people. That should be like ended because now they're just being leftist spurging fuckwits. And they're silencing anyone right of Karl Marx these days. So this is out of London. Silicon Valley technology giants such as Facebook and Google have grown so dominant that they need to be broken up. Unless challenges or changes in taste reduce their clout, the inventor of the World Wide Web told Reuters. Now, I don't agree with him on this. And here's what's fucked up. They talk about this, and there was competition on the note of, say, Twitter. And what happened? Conveniently, all on the same day in a coordinated fucking attack after the synagogue shooting, Gab gets de-platformed, de-personed, non-entitied, however you want to look at it. Huh. Little fucking suspicious when this guy said the same spurging type of shit on Facebook and Twitter, and nothing was done about that. Nothing was said about that. This guy's talking about competition, and they're shutting down their competition using any bullshit excuse that they can. The digital revolution has spawned a handful of US-based technology companies since the 1990s that now have combined financial and cultural power greater than most sovereign states. Yeah, Google, well, its parent company, Alphabet, Apple, I mean, even Google itself, but if you go by the fact of Alphabet and what it owns, and as I already said, Apple, and a few others, Twitter, they've amassed such wealth, you know, Facebook even, that they make more money than a lot of nations' GDPs out there these days. Tim Berners-Lee, a London-born computer scientist who invented the web in 1989, well, actually, he invented the technologies that became the web. Let's be more accurate, because, I mean, he invented HTML, the first web server, so on and so forth. And yes, he did lay, you know, the whole web protocol, World Wide Web, but it was a lot of people that actually contributed to the creation of the World Wide Web beyond that point. You know, on the note of the infrastructure and everything else. But he gets full, you know, for whatever reason, full credit for it. And, I mean, he deserves a lot of credit for coming up with the idea that he did. Don't get me wrong. Although, like most academics, he could have, you know, thought to be a little more practical. Because he wrote all of it for the next... what was it, the Cube or the Next Station, you know, the next computer at that time. It's like the only thing you could view it on, serve content on, and all that. But it was a start. But he invented... So London-born computer scientist invented the web in 1999, said he was disappointed with the current state of the internet following the scandals of the abuse of personal data and use of social media to spread hate. Did he exactly say the hate, though? This is what gets me is I got a feeling he leans more towards free speech than the spreading of hate. But I bet you left that out because he created the idea of the web page and the web server for the dissemination of information for the intent of free speech. I got a feeling that you're putting some words into his mouth there. And this idea of the scandals over the abuse of personal data, you try to portray it like Facebook had no knowledge, had no involvement in the Cambridge Analytica when they were selling the fucking data and Cambridge Analytica bought it. I mean, this is some funny shit. What naturally happens is you end up with one company dominating a field, so through history there's no alternative to really coming in and breaking things up. Berners-Lee, 63, said in an interview, there's a danger of concentration. Yes, but you see, all tech was coming in and disrupting. Gab was getting all of the kicked off Twittery people. All the Brazilians. And they saw the fact that Bolsonaro won. Even though they kicked off all of his supporters from fucking Twitter. I find it a little fucking convenient that Bolsonaro wins, and then all of a sudden there's this coordinated effort using the excuse of the synagogue shooting to take down Gab right before the midterm elections. But no one's really pointed that out. Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666, he didn't point that out. I haven't seen anyone point that out. The timing is a little too convenient on that note. And they want to have this situation of one company dominating. See what he's leaving out too, on that idea of one company coming in and dominating. That can happen, but the reason why it's happened to where we're at right now is because you've got these companies getting government incentives like Facebook and Twitter and Google. And because they're getting government incentives and they're working with the government and the government's passing legislation that makes it harder for people to, enter into the market and compete with them, you end up with the dominating situation. You're trying to make it sound like, well, they just come in and then one of them just ends up dominating. That's not necessarily the case. It wasn't during the dot-com boom days. You had new sites popping up, and as they were popping up, the latest flavor was dying out. That's the natural cycle. Yet for whatever reason, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube on the note of video, they've lasted longer than any other company. Don't you think there might be a little collusion involved in that? With the government? Or with people in it? Or with people in the government, I should say. But he urged caution too, saying the speed of innovation in both technology and taste could ultimately cut costs, could cut some of the biggest technology companies down to size. Yes! All tech! It's doing that! Gab! Minds! BitChute! DTube! They are growing and taking away from the Silicon Valley elites companies. Before breaking them up, we should see whether they are not just disrupted by a small player beating them out of the market, but by the market shifting, by the interest going somewhere else, Berners-Lee said. But see, the thing is, when they are literally doing everything to stop their competition, Antitrust needs to be brought into the mix here. And if that means splitting them up, I'm all for it. Because I would love, just for the fact of all the shit that they've pulled, I would love to see Twitter broken up. Well, I don't know how they could break it up, but I would love to see it broken up. Facebook. Google. Every last one of these motherfuckers, I would love to see broken up. Because the second they're broken up, there's blood in the water. And you want to talk about companies popping up, alt tech and otherwise, that's when it would happen. And then you would see a competition going off on that, all of them fighting each other and fighting with the weakened, Silicon Valley behemoth beast of each company. Then you'd actually see some competition, because you'd have to see Google, Facebook, and Twitter have to adapt or die, as opposed to keeping themselves on life support and holding their user bases hostage. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook have a combined market capitalization of $3.7 trillion, equal to Germany's gross domestic product last year. Yeah. And it's funny as they bring up Germany like that. But if you want to put it into really an accurate perspective, take each company individually, or take that together, and compare it to all the nations out there and their GDP. They make more money than a hell of a lot of countries do with their GDP. Love and hate. Berners-Lee came up with the idea for what he initially called mesh while working at Europe's physics research center CERN, calling it the World Wide Web in 1990. When asked who had the biggest intellectual influence on him, he said, Mom and Dad. Oh, ain't that sweet? They were building computers, so I grew up living in a world where everything was mathematics and the excitement of being able to program something was very fresh, he said. Sorry, just made me think to my childhood. My parents weren't necessarily computer literate. I mean, don't get me wrong, my father loved computers. Couldn't do a goddamn thing on them. I mean, I'd watch him as a kid try to type a basic program in. But he would buy, the trendy computer at the time. Okay? So, I had a few of them, Coco 2, trash 80 Coco 2, a Timex, Sinclair, a few other smaller computers. It was supposed to be my gift, but it became more his. Bought the Intellivision with the idea of the docking station, making it, one of the most powerful personal computers at the time. Yeah, and I was the one who ended up, when it came to the computer stuff, like the computers, I was the one who spent more time on them. I'm the one who actually learned the stuff. So it would have been nice to have already had that head start like he did. But yeah, I mean, I just find it funny when you look at him and his age, that his parents were building computers back then. I mean, most people back then, I mean, I'm in my early 40s, but most people back then, they weren't building computers. So he got a leg up. And it appeared it helped him out. There was, he said, no eureka moment. Instead, it was hard work, the experience of working in computer science in an attempt to overcome the frustrations of trying to share information with colleagues and students. So, you got to give him credit, because out of necessity, he's trying to share this information with peers, colleagues and students, and there was no easy way to do it. So he made a way. Eureka moments are complete nonsense. I don't even believe the one about Archimedes. He had to have been thinking about it for a long time, he said. And I agree with that. I mean, he could have had the Eureka moment, but not how it's portrayed in history classically. I agree he was probably thinking about the situation with volume, and he's sitting there and he's trying to figure out how to figure out the volume of something. And I bet you he got into a tub, saw the displacement of the water, and it finally clicked with him. So he might have been thinking about it, but I think he might have had that eureka moment where it just all came together. Now a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the University of Oxford, Berners-Lee expressed dismay at the way consultancy Cambridge Analytica obtained the personal data of 87 million Facebook users from a researcher. It was legally paid for. Facebook sold it. It didn't violate anything. And yet, trying to portray this like, oh, they got their hands on it, grubby bastards. No. That scandal, he said, was a tipping point for many. I am disappointed with the current state of the web, he said. We have lost the feeling of individual empowerment, and to a certain extent, I also think the optimism is cracked. Well, yes, because the left has become spurging fucking idiots whose feelings can't handle the internet. So they want to take the power away from everyone else. That individual empowerment that he's talking about, the left does not like, unless you are fucking parroting their shit. They don't want you to be empowered if you're not on the fucking plantation, working like a good little voter slave, regardless of your skin color, ethnicity, or anything else like that. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg apologized after the Cambridge Analytica scandal and pledged to do more to protect users' data. Oh, you mean like not fucking sell it like he did? Because that's how it got to Cambridge Analytica. And what they also leave out is that Obama used Cambridge Analytica and did the same exact fucking thing with them. You gotta love how they leave this shit out. But social media, Berners-Lee said, was still being used to propagate hate. Sorry, dude. Disagreeing with someone is not fucking hate. Telling someone there are two fucking genders, two sexes. It's binary, minus the outcast of intersex. It's not hate. If you put a drop of love into Twitter, it seems to decay, but if you put a drop of hatred, you feel it actually propagates much more strongly. And you wonder, well, is that because the way that Twitter as a medium has been built? No! It's because the left is a bunch of spurging fucking idiots. They're the ones who keep pushing hate. Why don't you call out the hate on that side? I mean, how hard would it be to go, well, you got all these accounts going, kill white people, hate white people, this, white people bad, you know, white people this, white people that. And then if someone quotes it, changes white to black or Jewish or anything like that, they get kicked off the platform, whether it's temporarily or permanently. That should go to show you where the actual hate is. You want to address the hate, address the left. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.